out. I'm not going to.
No.
All right, the Hangout is now live. All right, guys. 3, 2, 1. Titans fans, hello and welcome back to the Two Tone Crew. This is episode 127. I'm John Boy, and joining me tonight, Jamal is back once again.
Gentlemen, nice to be here.
And also Scotty is here with us.
What's up, guys?
Well, I'm sure football is at the forefront of all of our minds right now, recording this Wednesday evening. Something happened Tuesday. I heard about it in the news, but some minor thing, I feel like, in America. But anyway, we're here to keep the focus on Titans football. So regardless of how you feel about the outcome, maybe you can focus your mind on some Titans football for a while. Unfortunately, there's not all that much positive there, at least in terms of wins and losses. But I think if you look a little bit deeper, especially on TitansReport.com, which we are the official podcast of TitansReport.com, a lot of the feeling there seemed to be, for a loss, a lot more positive than you would expect. The game feels like so long ago now, but Titans did lose to the Chargers 43-35. It was a shootout that, once again, turnovers really cost the Titans big time in the end. But for a loss, like I said, over on the message boards at Titans Report, it just, I don't know, it felt like one of the more positive losses that we've had in recent years. People just didn't seem quite as upset, and I think a lot of that had to do with, Mariota seems to be taking the next step until he has these back-breaking turnovers. I mean, what was your guys' take on the game? Scotty, you can start off here, because I know you post your weekly kind of summary of how you feel about the game, so I know I've read that, but for those who haven't read, you were a little bit positive too for it to be a loss, right?
Yeah, it was kind of funny because, considering that Mariota turned the ball over twice and was returned for touchdowns, despite that, I just felt like the last couple of weeks Mariota has kind of clicked. And, man, at one point he was dynamic out there. He was the best player on the field, and they couldn't stop him, and he seemed to be taking over the game. Now, it was all ruined with the defensive touchdowns that he caused, but it's so promising to see that he seems to be taking hold, that almost the loss is on the back burner, because if he can be this good without the turnovers, you're talking about what we've all dreamed of at quarterback.
Right. Yeah, that drive before half and then the drive immediately out of the half was just, phenomenal. That was Mariota at his best that we've ever seen. Those two drives, especially the one before half, they didn't even have any timeouts, which, by the way, credit to Mularkey for that, for staying aggressive on the Chargers drive when the Titans were down. We didn't have any points yet at that point. Of course, we know we got down big in this game as well early on, but I got to give credit to Mularkey there for using the timeouts. He called them ahead of the 2-minute warning to make sure that we had plenty of time when we got the ball back, trust the offense, and they were able to go down the field and score. And then the one out of the locker room, they came right out of halftime. And it was like you said, I thought it was funny, though, because they talked to the sideline announcer, and they said something to the effect of Mularkey wants to get back to his regular offense. And then it was like all passes that drive until the Mariota run to cap the drive off with the touchdown when he ran, but it was all passes to get there. And it was he was phenomenal there. So yeah, those two drives especially for me were pretty exciting.
Even earlier than that, he was throwing some great passes, and he had like 4 or 5 drops. I really thought he was throwing the ball really well. Even before the drive started working, they just kept dropping everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. The very first pass that he threw, uncharacteristic, Delanie Walker kind of bobbled it on the sideline, and he ended up catching it, but he just wasn't in bounds before he bobbled it. And then they had the what's his name? Bosa got pressure, and that next pass on the third down, it was ended up short because he got pressure and I think got a hand on the ball. Then the next drive, they do 3 straight runs and do not get the first down on 3rd and 1. And so just right away, the Titans were behind the 8 ball really fast. But yeah, you're right. It was very uncharacteristic. He was putting the ball in good places, and they were having some drops early on. Jamal, how about you? Go ahead and hop in there.
Well, I didn't want to ruin the excitement. I didn't want to come in and say negative things. It's nice that you guys were happy. Yeah, I don't know. This game ago because of what happened last night, as you mentioned. But thinking back, I'm remembering now. This game felt like, in many ways, a microcosm of much of the season, which was that the season, I think I said the first 2 games, I feel more comfortable with Mariota and less comfortable with the offensive play calling and the strategy in general. And I felt that same way this game. I thought that early on, the 3 runs, I mean, Tom Gower posted an article about it, but one of the times where a running back truly does struggle is consecutive runs in a row. And both times we failed on 3rd and 1, it was Murray's 3rd run in a row. It's just sort of interesting, but I mean, we couldn't get anything going. And the way we didn't succeed running the ball made me that much more nervous about potentially having overused DeMarco Murray. And then when we did succeed, it was passing the ball a ton, which they had a lot of success with, but it's just not what they're designed for. And I just don't know how sustainable that is. I was surprised they had as much success with it as they did.
Yeah, the Chargers came in really good against the run, and I wasn't surprised they stopped the run. I think I thought they might not have as much success when they had, I think, like 3 linebackers out of the game. So I expected we might have success, but we were never able to.
You know, we've been talking about how we feel like we should be able to run on just about anybody. That's kind of the mentality that we have tried to develop as a team. And for a couple of games, admittedly against bad competition, and maybe that's part of it, but it seemed like, okay, maybe we will be able to do this. And then we just got totally shut down.
Not to mention Derrick Henry injured in warmups, and I think he was going to be a key part of this game. It seemed like they were talking him up a little bit in the week. He'd gotten a lot of work against Jacksonville. Murray is not 100%. And then, just I guess it was kind of just a fluky thing. In warmups, he tweaked, was it a hamstring or something?
Calf muscle.
Calf, yeah, that's right. And now he could be out up to, it could be 1 day to 2 weeks, I think Malarkey said. So I think that kind of set them back a little bit. And also Delanie Walker, we already talked about the drop, but he clearly was not 100% either this game. He was injured in practice during the week, and I think missed a practice or 2 and was limited. Yeah, so it's frustrating.
Back to the running game, though. I mean, okay, they stopped the running game, but that didn't stop the offense. I mean, I thought it was promising that they couldn't run the ball, but yet could still generate offense, and they scored 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I think I'm much more encouraged by Mariota and his command of the pass game, but I'm less encouraged by just their design and their approach. And, it's like he does, and you just say, what if they designed around that? How much better would he look? It's all theoretical, and at this point irrelevant because we're further down the road, and they're just not going to go back and redesign it. But I returned to those feelings that I hadn't had for a number of weeks because we'd been running the ball so well.
Well, it's not theoretical, though, because as good as he played and everything, they lost the game because he turned the ball over and he threw 2 interceptions. I still think he's not ready to completely, carry the whole team. He still turns the ball over too much.
Yeah. I think it would expose
double-edged sword.
Yeah, it would expose the team more because you'd have more on his shoulders. But just in terms of maximizing him, and just it all gets back to the discussions. We don't need to rehash it. but that was just what I walked away feeling. And then, we had those 2 drives that you talked about. We looked ecstatic, like team. And then they went back to trying to run the ball and didn't have success with it. That was the drive where they tried the option to the short side of the field and he fumbled, Unfortunately, they then went back to the pass and had a lot of success with it again. But it's just one of those things that, because I have opinions coming into it, obviously, then I start seeing evidence and I'm starting to say, I mean, are they really that stubborn? It was working really well. Why are you going back to it? I don't know. I wasn't confident in the team being able to put a lot together going forward because I doubt we can pass the ball. I mean, I don't think it's sustainable for us to pass the ball that much with our offensive design and the way that
the receivers
we have approached. Yeah, that we've approached this season, and I just don't think that we have enough plays in the playbook like that. I mean, it's just not what we're set up for, and we really are going to have to get the run game going again. Murray, they're still, kind of babying him a little bit this week, and it just makes me nervous.
I don't understand why you don't. I mean, they can throw the ball fine. The last 4 or 5 weeks, they've been throwing the ball fine. And what I was going to bring up earlier is, I don't think it matters shotgun, under center. He's proving he can do it either way. He's doing play action well. He's doing it from shotgun. I think he's pretty much scheme proof as far as how you want to let him throw the ball. The problem was the turnovers. It wasn't the offensive design. I mean, if he hadn't turned the ball over twice, they most likely win the game.
Yeah,
Do you think that they could pass this much in most games and just kind of flip a switch and say, that's it, we're a passing offense, and that they'd be able to sustain that?
Well, I want them to be able to run the ball and shorten the game. They only had 23 minutes and 30 seconds of time of possession. I mean, but if they have to, as this game showed, they couldn't run the ball, and they went to more of a passing game. And yes, he was passing it all over the place, man. He was lighting them up. And I actually think, Matthews is starting to become a pretty good receiver.
He is.
I
picked him up in fantasy this week.
I tried to, and someone else already did. But, Delaney Walker, Matthews, and Kendall Wright, it's not a terrible receiving core. So, yeah, I think they can pass the ball if they need to. It's not what they want to do exclusively, but they've got the flexibility where if they have to, they can.
And also, if you're able to sustain the run, that keeps Rivers off the field, and especially early. Well, it keeps Melvin Gordon off the field too.
Yeah, exactly. Rest the defense, and I mean, they want to run the ball. Obviously, if they could do that, they would.
Yeah, it's going to be even more important this week. We'll talk about that in a minute, but yeah, it was. We haven't really talked about the defense much yet. Early on, I thought they were. I mean, didn't do the favors early on, that's for sure. The offense didn't do them any favors either, but we got behind quick, got behind early. Chargers were just doing whatever they wanted. Melvin Gordon had a career day. I think he led all fantasy. And I saw something like, I think over 100 of the yards were after contact. So it was just lots of poor tackles, lots of missed tackles. Ken Wisenhunt, I mean, definitely, we were talking about this on the message boards, but he clearly knew the strengths and weaknesses of this defense, and they absolutely took advantage of it. And I think most fans are kind of sitting there saying, yep, this is that linebacker need and corner need we were talking about in the offseason that we just didn't quite get to address.
You think that was Ken Wisenhunt?
I think it's part of it, yeah.
Could be. I mean, I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't matter what your scheme is if you can't tackle.
I think what happened is Rivers was getting the ball out so fast, they knew they had to rush him because their secondary is not good enough. And I think they exploited that by running a lot of draws and delays from a bunch of spread stuff. Most of his yards came from shotgun. They spread the field up, they let the Titans pass rush, and they ran a bunch of draws. And when you're trying to get to Rivers so bad, it makes it easy.
And we couldn't avoid talking about the penalties because we got hit with some big time back-breaking penalties this game too. There was
completely bogus stuff.
That one scoring drive where it was just comical how we stopped them, I think, twice on third down.
3 times.
Oh, was it 3 times?
It was 3 times.
They got bailed out 3 times on one drive.
On third down. They all 3 stops were on third, and they stopped them all 3 times. You know, technically they look like, they're penalties technically, but it was so ticky-tack and just.
Well, it's one of those things that anytime you watch a replay, you'll be able to find a penalty. I mean, if they want to call a penalty on a play, they could call a penalty on something. There's somebody that's going to be holding or, whatever. I mean, we even had one of our drives. They should have called a penalty on Taylor Lewan for a false start on the big. I think it was third down on the sideline. Maybe Tajay Sharp.
That was it. Yep, down on the sideline.
that was pretty glaring. But if you want to call a penalty, you're going to be able to call penalties. And I mean, conspiracy, I guess I'm buying into it. It didn't work out for him at the polls, but leading right up to that, they needed that win.
You know what's the only problem with that conspiracy theory is? We had 8 penalties for 57 yards. They had 14 for 107. They had almost twice as many. It's just that ours were on third down.
Yeah. And I know we'll talk about the turnovers a little bit, but the other thing I was going to say is the other thing that's just so backbreaking is the fact that they're going for scores. As we saw with the first interception he threw, those don't always kill you. It's just like a punt. But when they go for 6 just immediately, that hurts so bad. And to have it happen twice, it's very difficult.
He's had it happen a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if that's luck or you'd have to.
It's got to be bad.
I guess you'd have to go back and see if there's a trend. But they're going for touchdowns a lot when he turns the ball over.
He had 2 in this game. He had 2 in the Minnesota game, personally. I mean, they would have won both of those games, most likely.
Maybe even without just one of them.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. It's a very weird feeling. I think the reason we're able to stay more positive is because turnovers are, especially like we're just saying here, when they go for touchdowns, that's bad luck. The turnovers themselves, I think they're correctable. The fumbles, honestly, are more worrisome than the interceptions because that's something that we've seen all throughout his career. I mean, going back to college. And that, to me, that's another reason that I mean, it's on him. He can't fumble that ball, but it's another reason I question the play call there because this is something he's just shown that he struggles with this. He can't protect the ball. And so what they've been doing so well this year is on the runs he's had, almost all of them, he's avoided getting hit. He slides or he gets out of bounds. Well, this one, short side of the field, it's an option play. He's probably going to get hit whether he pitches it or not. And this one he didn't pitch, and fortunately
he got cute with it too.
Out. Yeah, he does that a lot where he's
a big fan of it.
Yeah.
He likes to do the fake.
So I think that's the reason most people that I've read, most fans are able to stay more positive is because especially the interceptions are correctable. And the fact that they're going for 6 is bad luck. But the good is getting better and better. The good, when you see the good Mariota out there, I think he's clearly progressing and clearly growing as a passer and as a pocket passer.
And he's starting to look more than just good. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
It was impressive. The last 2 weeks, it's sustained too. It's not like, okay, the Jacksonville game's one game, but he kept it going, and it's at a high level.
So this week, Titans come back home and face the Green Bay Packers, who you hear the Green Bay Packers, and of course you immediately think Aaron Rodgers, one of the best players in the league, and frankly, as of late, he's really not been. And as a team, they're struggling. Jamal, I know you know that firsthand more than anybody, that the talk there is getting, pretty volatile, I would say, for McCarthy's fate there if they lose this game and if they continue to do poorly. They're coming off a loss to the Colts, and they're really not a good football team right now. And immediately after the game, I felt better about our chances against Green Bay, honestly, than San Diego. I don't think Green Bay can stop the run quite like San Diego can. But then you've got the issue with Murray being hurt, and who knows how that's going to pan out. But you posted the thread this week. The Titans can win this game. Absolutely.
Definitely. I mean, it depends on what Green Bay run defense shows up. Because they still are, I think, the number one run defense in the NFL in terms of yards per game. They're only giving up 75.8. But you look at the splits on that, and in their first 4 games, they only gave up 171 rushing yards. In their last 4 games, it's 435. A decided shift. And I think if we can get our run game going, we have a chance in this game. Green Bay's offense is not what you think of with Green Bay's offense. They don't have a rushing attack, so they're doing a lot of short passes. They're trying to find ways to be creative with it. And at times they look like their old offense. And granted, given how we played against Luck and Rivers the last 2 weeks, you got to look at it and say, man, there's a good chance Rodgers looks like Rodgers against us. But if we get that run game going, which we didn't have this last week, we can keep that quarterback off the field, and that makes a big difference.
I think Clay Matthews might be out of this game too. He missed last week, I believe.
I haven't even looked at their injuries. Yeah, that would be interesting. And one of the things about the Colts game, by the way, if I remember right, and maybe I'll look this up while we're talking, but I'm pretty sure that Green Bay gave up like return touchdowns, things that make the score look like maybe they did worse than they actually did.
They gave up the opening kickoff, but even after that, the Colts were pretty much in control of the game.
Yeah, and from what I saw, Luck didn't really have a great game. I think he had 2 interceptions, and it was actually Gore who had a pretty solid game.
I think Luck was pretty good in the fourth quarter, though. From what I saw, he had some really awesome throws in the fourth quarter to
hold him off.
To put the game away.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I also heard Jamal probably knows more about this. It sounds like there's some trouble between Aaron Rodgers and McCarthy. Did you hear him say that this sideline wasn't enthusiastic enough? Kind of like some people were interpreting it as shots at McCarthy, and McCarthy said the sideline's fine.
I saw those comments. I mean, there's been talk of a gap there between the two of them. Going back to last year even. And my guess is because they changed their offensive coordinator last year coming into the year, maybe that was possibly to try to work on a gap that existed even before that. But I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's like the former quarterback coach or something like that. He and Rodgers got along real well, so they switched him to the offensive coordinator last year. The offense struggled, and McCarthy took it back over. And then you started hearing a lot more that Rodgers was not happy that he took it back over. It's a strange relationship potentially. And I think the people that are really commenting on potentially Mike McCarthy's going to have to go, it's not necessarily about results. It's more about, hey, if the locker room has issues and he can't get it back together, he's been there 10 years. If he isn't a fresh enough voice, if Aaron Rodgers has enough of a presence and they're beefing together, I mean, then that's why you have to move on. And I think if they can't take care of that gap that exists, that's what's going to end up happening.
Aaron Rodgers ain't leaving.
Yeah, I would say he will win that. If there could be only one, Highlander rules, Aaron Rodgers wins. Yeah.
The Packers are 9-11 in their last 20 games, going back to last year too. They're pretty mediocre. I mean, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is scary, but I'm with John that I think the Chargers are a better team, and this game's at home. I actually think the Titans will win this game.
I hope so.
Yeah, I posted earlier this week that I would actually predict a win. Granted, we could definitely lose too, but Yeah, I predict a win for this game as well.
Well, I guess I'll make it 3 for 3. I think so
Uh-oh.
too. And looking at the schedule, I mean, we've kind of been checking in each week on this, so I don't know that we need to spend much time on it. But we really said, I mean, the Titans need to win all their division games. We kind of all on that. But then between those other teams, the Chargers, Packers, Bears, Broncos, Chiefs, they only needed to get 2 of those to get to 9-7 with the division game. So I said I feel like they needed to win one of these 2 between Chargers and Packers. So if they can get this win, then they go on the road to Indy and Chicago. Then they have the bye. Then they have the final quarter of the season. So yeah, this would still keep them on that pace. We would get back to 500 once again. We seem to be kind of hovering around that all year long, but it would get us back to 500.
Think about this. I mean, Green Bay is 4-4. That's what we were last week.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are not having even like a good season that's maybe a down year for them. No, they are having a 4-4 season. I mean, this is not a good place for them to be, and they're on a 2-game losing streak. I think they were 4-2 at one point.
Their last win is the game against the Bears when the Bears were winning in the fourth quarter with their third string quarterback. It was like 13-10. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, honestly, he's not playing as good as Andrew Luck and Phillip Rivers. Not even close, really.
Yeah.
He can, and I'm afraid of him, but he's not playing that way the last year or so.
Is their offensive line still looked in pretty high regard? I know, I think it was Cosell was saying that Rodgers is creating a lot of this pressure on his own. He's not, playing like he needs to be playing right now, but I don't know what kind of offensive line they have. Just trying to think if we could get any pressure, because if he has time, the way our corners are playing, I don't really see us being able to stop them, but that's where the running game comes in and being able to get pressure with our D-line, hopefully.
I think he's been sacked 3 times in each of the last games, if I remember right.
Oh, wow.
So they're giving up pressure. I mean, they don't have a rushing attack. Ty Montgomery, they went back to him, and he had 7 rushes for like 50 yards or something last week, but it's only 7 rushes.
Yeah.
That's all the time offense right now.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm curious to see what LeBeau can do with considering that, because, I mean, Mel is having a really, really good season, and we saw how solid of a player he is. Packers don't have anybody anywhere near that level. I think they're talking about Starks maybe able to play this week. Even if he plays, I don't, that's not going to be anything like what we just saw. So, yeah, they're very one-dimensional. I agree.
They've lost 3 of their last 4 games.
3 of the last 4, yeah. The regarding Aaron Rodgers, in his down year, he has he's on pace for 4,000 yards, 40 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, with another 4 rushing. So right now, halfway through his year, he's got 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Jeez.
I mean that's good. I mean, no doubt about it. But I mean, listen to this: 45 attempts, 42, 56, 43.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that definitely inflates his numbers. He throws the ball. All they do is throw the ball the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I mean, his rating on the year right now is 96. Let me look at previous years, but I mean, it's always like 100, 110 with him. It seems like it's always really good.
Except for last year. It was low last year too. I mean, low. I say low, but lower for his standards.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Low for his standards still means I'm going to come in and dominate you on Sunday.
I don't think so. I don't think he's not dominating. I know what you mean. I mean, he can still efficiently throw the ball and stuff, but that's the problem. He's not dominating people. He's, like I said, scared. He had a 92 rating last year, by the way.
Yeah, almost 93. So he's on pace for more touchdowns than he's had since 2011.
He's
way more interceptions too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not nearly as efficient. He's still one of the 5 best quarterbacks. I mean, but he's just not as scary as he has been in previous years.
Mm-hmm.
If he was playing like he was 2 or 3 years ago with the Titans' pass defense, I mean, they'd put up 40-something points at least.
There's still that fear.
So the keys to the game, you guys.
we're just the cure.
Do you
that
think
he
we can beat
needs.
them? Yeah, that's the fear. Do you think we can beat them if we don't get our run game going?
Yes, I do. I mean, ideally, that's not what they want to do, but I think if Mariota don't turn the ball over, yes,
Right.
they can.
Yep. He showed he
Well,
could
that's a
play
big if this year.
shootout. I mean, he was in a shootout with Rivers, but the turnovers, yeah.
I mean, yeah. If they can't establish the run this game, I said it earlier, but I don't think they can sustain the pass like they did last week. Remarkable that they could do that without a rushing attack. I mean, even against Jacksonville and previous weeks, we've been running the ball well, and that really sets the defense on their heels. And this is different. And it's a good thing that we could do that. I question whether or not it's sustainable.
Right.
I don't see any reason they can't do it. I mean, they got a good pass blocking offensive line. Mariota's throwing the ball well. Their receivers are decent. I mean, the question is, can they do it without making mistakes? And so far, they haven't been able to.
I think Spain actually practiced today. You mentioned offensive line.
He did. I heard he did.
Yeah. I don't know if he's expected to play or if they're going to just, be safe with him and keep him out another week. But he practiced again today. And I don't think – I'm trying to – let me pull up the injury report here. I think Delaney was a full practice today. Really our biggest question marks are going to be the running back position. So – because
yeah, Marcus has the ankle too, but he played through that, so that can't be too bad.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't even put him on the injury. Some talk that he would be on the injury report. Okay, yeah, so here's the injury report. Delaney Walker, Quentin Spain, Aaron Wallace were all full participants. Rashad Johnson, full participant as well. DeMarco Murray, Derrick Henry did not practice. Jack Conklin was limited today. He was, and we're talking Wednesday. This is Wednesday evening when we recorded this. Yeah, Conklin was limited with an elbow injury. I'm sure it's just a precautionary thing, but as considering, I don't think anybody's been really asking them about it too much, but still something to keep an eye on. Yeah, I think the Titans can get a win here too. So I do agree running game's going to be important.
Aaron Rodgers is only averaging 6.4 yards per pass. That's got to be
pretty low.
That's got to be about the bottom of the NFL.
Oh, he was ranked like in the late 20s, around 30. I know a couple weeks ago that, like I was saying, that he's getting his stats off a huge volume number of passes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that I was going to say though, this whole idea about them being, this lost 3 of their last 4, all this vision we're talking about here. Isn't that kind of exactly what happened with the Colts, though? Their backs were against the wall, and then they just came out and played their best game of the year against us. I feel like that.
Yeah, but then
some ways that works against you.
They also beat Green Bay now, though. So, I mean, the Colts are one of those teams with Andrew Luck. They just always seem to find ways to win games. And it's not just against us. I mean, his career win percentage is great.
Yeah.
Andrew Luck is quietly having one of his best seasons ever. It's just overshadowed because they got so many other problems. Aaron Rodgers is not playing anywhere near Andrew Luck right now.
Yeah. I'm just saying with their backs against the wall, this could be the game that they channel all that motivation and break out of it finally. Their season's kind of on the line here. Ours is a little bit different. We're in the AFC South where no matter what your record is, you have a chance of winning it at the end.
Hey, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm tired of hearing that because you know what? The AFC North, the NFC North, they all suck.
Especially with the Vikings have really went downhill. So
who's going to win that division?
Well, but the Lions are good this year too.
Well, they're kind of good, but they're
kind of good, yeah.
Yeah, they're like the Texans or Titans or one of those type teams, and there's a lot of divisions like the AFC South now, so it kind of aggravates me to hear people talk about the AFC South, and there's 3 or 4 divisions that are just like that.
See, Baltimore is winning their division at 4-4.
That's a joke.
Houston at 5-3 is better than that.
See what I'm saying? The Ravens,
wait, what's Pittsburgh's record?
4-4. They've been terrible lately.
Gosh.
They got blown out by the Dolphins before Roethlisberger got hurt.
And they were dominating those first few weeks of the season too.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of mediocre teams in the whole league, and
the AFC as a whole is trash, except for the AFC West.
So is the NFC, though. Okay, the Cowboys, and then who else? Seattle.
Well, each division at least has a team with 5 wins in the NFC. We've got, I don't know. I wonder what the overall win percentages are. I'm just kind of scrolling up and down, looking at each of these.
I think
in the NFC, you've got the Cowboys are 7-1, and Atlanta's 6-3. Seattle's 5-2-1. They're not a dominant team this year.
I think
Did you guys see that hit Richard Sherman put on somebody though? That wide receiver. That was a hit.
I saw the kicker one. I didn't see the wide receiver. What were you going to say, Scotty? Jump in there.
I think I saw where there's like 19 teams right now that have either 3 or 4 wins in the whole league.
Yeah, I believe it.
And everyone's just right there. There's only going to be a few teams eliminated going in the last 2 or 3 games.
21 teams have, unless I added it up wrong here, but I think 21 teams have 4 wins or less. So there are 11. Only 11 teams have 5 wins.
Yeah, so I mean it's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, at 4-5, tied with the Colts.
The
Wild
game
card
against
race
them coming up too.
Yeah, that's true. But the AFC West right now has both wild card teams in the AFC because they have Kansas City at 6-2 and Denver at 6-3. Denver's 3rd in their division right now.
Hey, Kansas City's another team. They're like 17-2 in their last 19 games, and they don't get any respect from anybody, and all they do is win.
And they've been having tons of injuries too. Quarterback, running back. I think Houston's coming back now, but he's been out too. We got to play them in a few weeks at Arrowhead.
Yeah, that game looks a lot tougher than the Denver game now.
Mm-hmm.
Denver, they're close to benching their quarterback.
Yeah, he's not cutting it right now,
And he's trending the wrong way. It's one thing to be mediocre and just stay mediocre. It's another thing to be all right and to get worse.
Right. So if they win this game, they're in the
hunt.
They're in the hunt.
Yep.
Good God. I'm just looking at points for Houston. Just far and away has the fewest points in the NFL.
Wow.
We have 80 more points than them so far this year. So they have 137 points for. I guess they're a game less than us because they already had a bye, so that'll be part of it.
Yeah, our offense is.
They have 137
top 10.
points. We have 217.
How about the stats the last 4 or 5 games for the Titans offense?
It's up there. Yep.
They're top 1 or 3 in most categories.
During that time, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're up to like 12th in points per game for the whole season, or 12th or 14th or something for the whole season.
The Superhorn
finally
tweeted
mediocre.
out over the last 5 weeks, the Titans have scored the most points out of any team in the NFL. And his second tweet was, unfortunately, the team has also allowed the 3rd most points.
Well, their offense has definitely passed their defense up.
Oh, yeah.
Eye test and statistically.
And I went, when I saw that thread on TitansReport.com, John Boy, I think you made that thread. I was like, I wonder if that's like competition or something. So I was looking at the DVOA of the offensive they faced and the defenses they faced. Offenses they faced have been better than the defenses, but not significantly. It's truly just the offense is better than the defense right now.
Yeah.
I actually think if they don't turn the ball over, their offense is fine. It's good. They have a good offense.
I know. It's like we're not even – we had 3 turnovers this game. We're not even talking completely eliminate them. If they could just cut it back to like 1 turnover, They would be so
or
much
if the
better
defense
off.
could get a turnover ever.
Exactly.
That would be helpful.
Exactly. Still no
Oh.
forced fumbles.
They definitely have to rebuild the defense, especially the inside stuff for next year. I mean, it's a huge weakness.
They said I think Antonio Johnson's going to play this week.
Mm-hmm. I saw that.
Yeah, it looks like they've just decided to put him out there for some reason.
Well, he did so well that one game. I mean, didn't he get pressures on the quarterback? Just swatted down a pass or two. And
Yeah.
I think we were all saying, wow, he looked good. And then it's like they just buried him. I don't know if he was missing his assignments in freelancing or they just had other guys they liked better. But, yeah, they're ready to play him.
I guess they figure it's starting to start trying some other people out because it's not working.
Hey, Byard looks like he's coming along in that last game.
Have we talked
Jose-
about – go ahead.
They're supposed to get Rashard Johnson back this week too, by the way.
Yeah.
He's practicing.
Probably
He's the one I wanted to talk about.
Stafford.
There have been so many times this season with him where I feel like he just is in on the big plays.
Which one, Byard or Johnson?
I am not Johnson. No, Byard I think is great.
You mean giving
Johnson,
up
I'm
the
not
big
that
plays?
giving up big plays. Yeah. Totally good correction and clarification. Coming back doesn't excite me really.
Nah, I mean, I'd rather.
He and Stafford, it's kind of a toss-up. I'd much rather.
Like maybe they stay fresher.
They've been
But I
kind of
don't
doing
want
a
Byard on the field
rotation anyway
less.
with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They have a strange rotation that I've never seen anyone do with safeties like that. I don't know what the purpose of that is, but
Exotic safety ball.
I bet Baird plays more and more snaps as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
We are the only division in the NFL where every team is negative on net points.
Yeah, that's been true for a few weeks. Tom Gower's been keeping an eye on that, I think. I saw that pop up in his Twitter feed a few times lately.
Aren't we barely negative though?
We're only -9. We're the best off.
Yep.
Jacksonville is -62. Indianapolis is -6 or 17, and Houston is -30.
And they're leading the division.
I actually think the Titans are the best team in the division. Now they may not win it,
Mm.
and the turnovers are what's killing them. But overall, if they don't, they're the best team, I believe. Most complete.
I think I agree with that. The problem is because they're the most stable. I think the other teams have much bigger holes and weaknesses, and the Titans, it seems like they're more steady and able to put together complementary games more than these other teams. But we just, not only do we make a lot of mistakes, it's like if we don't get a big play or two, aren't explosive, and I think that all adds up to one of the reasons why the lack of, or when we turn the ball over, it's just killing ourselves. Like
Hopefully
big plays on
Osweiler-
offense, big plays on defense, we're not getting the turnovers. I mean, we need more of those big plays that will then give us more of a cushion for negative plays.
You know, the Titans, they for some reason they grade the big plays by 20 yards or more on offense. The Titans are 6th in the league.
We're getting up there now. Yeah,
We're
we're getting up
6th.
there now.
And 6th in pass plays too. It's not just running. They're number 6 in passing big plays, which I
Big
wouldn't
plays
guess.
passing?
Yeah, they're number 6.
I don't think it can be understated about the defense, though, not forcing turnovers and making these big plays. We basically can't expect any kind of game-changing play from the defense or special teams other than a sack maybe. So we do get sacks every now and then. Early on, they were getting lots of sacks, and that's kind of went down, but no fumbles. Rarely do we get interceptions.
No. I mean, there's so many games where the other team didn't turn the ball over at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think when you add that with how the defense has been trending negative right now, the defense is really responsible for a lot of our struggles.
Minus the turnovers.
I was gonna say I hate to
Yeah.
say it because I've been bragging on him, but the defense and Mariota's turnovers are the
Yeah, but I mean, because the turnovers go over touchdowns, I think it's magnified. Even with multiple turnovers in a game, as well as he played, multiple quarterbacks in the NFL will have, like Andrew Luck had one touchdown, and people probably aren't saying those 2 interceptions killed us. It's partly because they're going for touchdowns, and partly because the team can't do it without him playing mistake-free.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do know what you mean. It's too much on his back to expect him to carry the whole team to a win with the other parts not contributing.
And I will say in this game too, it was, I mean, they were behind so quick that, I mean, that changes how he has to play. He obviously has to look for more downfield opportunities and, try to push the ball a little bit more than you would if you were playing with a lead. You could be a little more conservative and try to protect the lead. But when you're down as much as they are, you're having to, really go after it. And they actually came back and got the lead in this game, 21-19. And then Chargers just came right back down the field and took it right back from us. And then that's when the turnover started, destroying us after that.
I think I know how you guys feel, but how do you guys feel about Malarkey's relationship with the interceptions, just how he discusses Mariota, blame assignment, that sort of thing?
I mean, I guess, that's your quarterback and everything, but it's starting to become pretty obvious he's sugarcoating as much as he can for Mariota. Because I heard a lot of people talk about the interception to Wright. And while I think Wright did run a bad route, it was pretty obviously a bad throw. It was inside and it was late. And I heard Mariota say it himself.
Do you think Mariota needs to be protected that way? Because that's the part that I don't get. Like, is he not capable of being criticized, or like why don't they want to just say?
I haven't seen anything from Mariota to make me think that he would not handle that fine, but
I mean, because while they're saying those things, he's taking the blame too. So he always takes the blame for anything. Just kind of how he is.
A better question might be like, are the receivers getting sick of it? But I mean, none of them are. None of them are worthy of, getting mad over it. You just
right.
Just say it's your
Kendall
fault.
Wright came out and.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Kendall Wright, I was surprised that he was like, yep, no, I ran a route, I can't do that. And he said that like really quick after the game.
Yeah.
I think he did. I heard Wycheck explain the route, and I think he did run a bad route. He didn't they said he kind of rounded off, and he didn't come back for the ball. Like, at the very least, he possibly could have defended the interception.
Right.
You heard Wycheck discuss it before Wycheck went into hiding?
No, it was after he came out.
Came back?
Yeah.
I need to get caught up on that.
That was weird listening to the game without him this last week.
Hey, there's some crazy story behind that right there.
There's got to be.
That's I've been trying to decide on that because he's vocal about his head injury history and stuff like that, and maybe they were just being sensitive to, we don't want to discuss it, we'll let him discuss it. But the silence on it and the fact that it wasn't addressed, you'd think like you think they'd address it and just say, he had a fall, he's injured, he's healing up, and he'll be back next week, or prayers for him or whatever. You'd think they'd reference it some way, but it was complete silence.
Might have another Bernie Kosar play-by-play guy, or the color commentator. He was for the Browns, and he was pretty messed up during some of the games.
Oh wow, I don't remember this.
Remember he was making fun of the Rams receivers, and it sounded like he was possibly drunk during the game.
If you're a baseball announcer, being drunk is like how you get famous. It's like what Harry Carey's known for. But yeah,
that sweat's just pouring off Bernie Kosar. He looks like he's the worst looking drunk guy I've ever seen.
Guys, I think we've covered everything we can this week. So it's good to talk Titans football with you for a little bit. Maybe we can take everyone's minds off other things that have been going on in the world for just a little bit. And we'll be back next week.
I was going to say, I think coming back next week, maybe Sunday. I got approval from the boss that I could do it on Sunday, and I don't mean where I work. But the late game, when we have a 3:00 game, then record at 8:30. I was like, man, I do not want to record tonight.
Yeah.
So, but we may be back on Sunday for our next episode here.
I think Sunday would really change the flow of the conversation for sure. Like, I don't know. This week's kind of crazy because of everything going on in the world anyway. But even when things like that aren't happening, just waiting those extra few days, it's like the whole discussion on message boards and just in the media has completely moved on to where it's totally on the upcoming game. Whereas then we try to go back, and I think we do a good job of balancing that. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to try out, just see how things flow going right after the game, especially if we get a nice win against Green Bay.
We get a W.
Yep. Well, thank you, listeners, so much for tuning in once again. This has been episode 127, The Two-Tone Crew. And you can find us online at titansreport.com. We are on Twitter at Titans Report. There's also a Facebook page, facebook.com/TitansReport. The voicemail line is 615-900-0282. Once again, that's 615-900-0282. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube now. By the way, this is kind of a thing that's been going pretty well. So we're doing all these live, and we don't necessarily always post when we're going live, but they are all archived on the Titans Report YouTube page now. So if there's no video, I mean, it's just like a logo icon that's on screen. But if you want to, play that and throw it in the background and listen while you're working on something else, you can do that as well. So plenty of avenues for you to download and listen to the podcast now. But thank you guys for all your support. And Scotty, Jamal, thank you once again. And we'll talk to you all again soon.
You want some good news?